Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Bible class. This is our virtual Bible class here at True Christian Fellowship Baptist Church. Welcome to our virtual Bible class. We're going to give a few minutes for people to come on in. I hope everyone is doing all right this evening. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago. Weather is nice and not too hot. We ain't got to turn the air conditioners on. Not too cold. It's a little nip in the air, but that's all right. You can put some on, put a little jacket on or something. This is beautiful weather. We got September weather in June, and that's beautiful weather. It could stay this way all year round. No colder, no hotter. This is bearable. So we're gonna give a few minutes for people to come into our Bible class tonight. Good evening to my beautiful wife, our first lady, who's with us this evening. God bless you, first lady. She's with us this evening. All right, and we had our Bible class earlier, our mid-afternoon Bible class, and so we gonna continue on with that same subject this evening. Good evening, Bishop Granberry. God bless you, my brother. Good to see you this evening. I'm doing fine. I hope you are doing fine too, my brother. God bless you. Good to see you this evening. Welcome to our evening Bible class. Like I said, we had Bible class earlier, and we're going to continue on this evening with that same subject. And the subject that we were beginning to deal with here, which is a two-part thing, because we want to let y'all get out of here and go watch that basketball game. We ain't going to hold you too long because I want to watch it too. All right. What's this? Marty says she can't hear me. She says, speak up, can't hear you. Oh, well, let me check, see what's going on with my sound. Where's my sound at? She can barely hear me. Let me move that sound on up a little higher. Can you hear me now? I don't know what's going on with the sound, but let's see. But I moved the sound up some, so I hope you can hear me. The sound is up pretty loud now. Can you hear me now, Sister Marty? I turned the sound up pretty high. It's up pretty high. First Lady says she can hear, so Marty, turn your sound up. All right. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody's sound? Do I need to turn my sound up? First Lady says she can hear okay. Good evening, cousin Shirley. God bless you. Good to see you this evening, cousin Shirley. She says she hear just fine. So Marty said it's better. Good evening to my cousin Sharon. God bless you, Sharon. Good to see you this evening. So God bless you all, Marty, and all of you all. Thank you all for being with us this evening. And so this evening we're gonna deal with what we did talked about this afternoon in our afternoon Bible class. We started talking about swimming to Jesus. We talked about swimming to Jesus. And what does swimmers do? Swimmers, they must part the waters to make it from one point to another point, whether they swim forward or backwards, whether they dive into the water. They got to part the water because if you just dive down the wrong way, you could smack and hit that water, and that water could knock you out, even kill you. So you got to part the water when you are swimming. You got to make a pathway. And so we got to make a pathway to Jesus. We got to part the waters. Same thing what happened with a boat that boat has a sharp point at the front of the boat to part the water as it moves. It's parting the water. If you look at fish, fish have fins. They have fins to part the water on top of them, behind them, on the sides. They have fins to part the water. So you got to part the water. And let's go spiritually. You got to part the water to get to Jesus. The children of Israel, in order for them to go from the land of Egypt, from slavery to the promised land of Canaan, they had to part the water. They had to cross the Red Sea. The water had to be parted. And so God parted it for them. He can use you like he used Moses, and you part the water. But it's all God, whether he do it for you or he use you. It's all God. But the water got to be parted in order to make your way to Jesus. And so we're going to get into later what you're parting, what you're separating as you make your way to Jesus, as you make your way to the promised land. And so we're going to be talking from the book of John, chapter 21, starting at the first verse. And we're going to be looking at Peter as he swam toward Jesus. We're going to be talking about Peter. He swam toward Jesus. The rest of the disciples made their way toward Jesus on a boat. So they all had to part the water as they made their way to Jesus. So that's what we're going to be looking at. John chapter 21, starting at the first verse. Good evening, Sister Deborah Hutchison. God bless you, you and your family. Thank you for being with us this evening. All right, so let's get to swimming and making our way to Jesus. And we're going to pull up our Bible. We're here in John chapter 21, starting at the first verse. And it says, after these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias, and on this wise showed he himself. How did he show himself? Well, verse 2, it said, it happened when they were together. Simon Peter was there, Thomas was there, Nathanael was there, the sons of Zebedee were there, and 2 other disciples were there. They were all gathered together. Verse 3, Peter said to them, I'm finna go fishing. Well, the rest of them, they said, okay, we'll go with you. So they all went forth, the Bible said, and entered into a ship. And they fished, and that night they caught nothing. Verse 4, but when the morning was now come, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples knew not that it was Jesus. That's what we want to first of all talk about. Jesus was there on the shore. They didn't recognize him. Here he is, waiting on them, standing there in sight, plain sight, but they didn't recognize him. Do you recognize Jesus? Too many of us are looking for Jesus in a certain way. That's why we fail to recognize him. Some of us, like so many churches, are caught up in tradition that we don't recognize when Jesus come in a different way, because I've been doing this for 20 and 30 years. I'm the deacon. I've been the deacon for 30 and 40 years. We don't want to give up that leadership to nobody else. I've been the pastor for 50 years and barely can move, but you don't want to give up that leadership. We got to know when to give up and recognize when Jesus is standing before us. when we need to make our way towards him. Because when you recognize the truth, that's recognizing Jesus. But a lot of us say he young. He don't know what he talking about. Boy, we've been doing this for 30 years. But when Jesus said, ask his disciples, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? They didn't go get the pastor. They didn't go get the bishop, the chief priest. They didn't go get one of them deacons that been in the church 30, 40 years. They didn't go get one of them mothers off the motherboard, been sitting around there 40, 50 years. They went and got a little child. We got to recognize Jesus in a little child. Why? Because they are pure. We got to be able to see pureness, and we can recognize Jesus, but we're too biased. We got too much racism in us. We got too much bias. You young, you old. You pretty, you ugly. You got good hair, you got bad hair. You got light skin, you got dark skin. You white, you black. So much bias that we don't recognize Jesus. But we got to be able to see the truth, no matter where it come from, to recognize Jesus. Balaam was riding a donkey. And as he rode that donkey, the donkey began to turn because it saw something that he didn't see. Sometimes your child see things you can't see. Your friends see things that you can't see. But because they ain't got a title, because you see them as less than you like Balaam. You don't pay attention to them. You expect them to just follow you. I'm your master. And so finally, when that donkey dropped to the ground, he pulled his sword. But he didn't pull his sword. He said, if I had a sword, I would have used it on you. But then God opened his eyes. He looked up and see the angel with a sword. And the angel said, if it wasn't for that donkey, I would have killed you and let that donkey live. See, we got to recognize the truth, recognize Jesus. He was thinking nothing of this old donkey because this donkey is supposed to serve him. But you got to be able to recognize Jesus. And so here it is. None of the disciples recognized Jesus as he stood on the shore. Are you so tied up in what you're doing today that you don't recognize Jesus? Are you so caught up in what you're going through? So busy trying to make ends meet that you don't recognize Jesus. So busy trying to please your husband, your wife, you don't recognize Jesus. So busy trying to take care of your children that you don't recognize Jesus. We got to clear up our consciousness so we can recognize Jesus. So at this point, none of them recognized him. But then let's move on a little further to verse 5. Here in verse 5, it said, then Jesus said unto them, children, have you any meat? And they said, no. They still don't recognize him. No, we ain't got no meat. And then he said unto them in verse 6. In verse 6, he said to them, cast your net on the right side of the ship, and you shall find. Cast your net on the right side, and you shall find. So they cast their net on the right side, still not thinking. How many times we've been right in the presence of God, of Jesus, of his glory, and not even seeing it? He brought you through that accident. You right in his presence and didn't even see it. You could have been dead and gone. You right in his presence and didn't see it. You didn't realize that somebody was trying to kill you. We go through seen and unseen dangers every day. Don't realize we're in the presence of God and He's taking care of us, making provisions for us, and we don't recognize it. So here they are, right here in His presence, and don't even see Him. Don't even see Him. Talking to Him and don't even see Him. Are you praying to God and still don't see Him? You asking God for something and still don't even see Him blessing you with it? The blessing is coming and you don't even see it. Remember, we talked about a couple weeks ago how Peter was in prison and they were praying for him. Then, when Peter got out of prison and got to the house and began to knock on the door, they talking about it ain't none of Peter. That's a ghost. You crazy woman. You don't see your blessings right there before you, and you asking for it. We got to open our eyes. So they was talking to Jesus. So He said, cast your net to the other side, and you shall find something. And so they obeyed. And when they did that, it said they were not able to draw it for the multitude of fish. It was so many. Then this, verse 7. This is, look at what it says here in verse 7. Therefore, that disciple whom Jesus loved, the one that used to lay on His lap all the time, the one who some folks said was like autistic, had autism or something. He just laid on Jesus' lap. They called him the disciple that whom Jesus loved. Now, we understand that Jesus didn't love none of them no less than the other. But what it means, the disciple whom Jesus loved, there are some children and people in your life that need more attention than others. That's what it's saying. And so this disciple needed more attention than the others. And so it seemed like he loved more, but he loved them all. But you got to love your children in different ways. Some of them you can be tough on them, and then some of them you need to be light on them. Some of them need special attention. And so this one here, the one who seemed said, whom Jesus loved, he said right away, hey, Peter, that's the Lord. And then when Peter heard him say that it was the Lord, Peter wrapped himself up because he didn't have no clothes on and jumped in the water and started swimming toward Jesus. He began to make his move toward Jesus. And as he swam toward Jesus, the verse 8, we're going to stop here at verse 8. It said the other disciples came in a little ship. They made their way in a ship. So they all were making their way toward Jesus, dragging the net with the fishes, dragging their blessings. Take your blessings to Jesus. Take your cares to Jesus. Make your way to Jesus. You can cast all your cares upon Him, and you can take your blessings to Him, thanking Him, giving Him honor for what He's blessed you with. Make your way to Jesus because He wants you to be thankful for what He's blessed you with. So drag your blessings too. And He also wants you to bring your cares, your stresses, depressions, anxieties, whatever you're going through. Drag them with you too. Drag it all toward Jesus. We got to make our way to Jesus. You got to recognize Jesus is on the shore. So they began to swim toward Jesus. And what were they swimming toward? As they swam toward Jesus, they began to make their way toward safety because Jesus is our safety. There is no other safe place but in the arms of Jesus. That's why David talked about, hide me, Lord, under the shadows of your wing. That's a safe place. I want to be in your tabernacle. That's a place, safe place. I want to be in your holy temple. That's a safe place. To be in the presence of the Lord is a safe place. So we need to start swimming towards safety. But first of all, you got to recognize, like the disciples, that where Jesus is at is better than where you are at. See, so many people don't make their way to Jesus because they rather stay where they at. They think they got it made because they got a title, because they got a degree. You got a PhD. People that figure they don't need Jesus. You got a nice house. You got money in the bank. But you need to be making your way to Jesus, because the only safe place is in the arms of Jesus. Your title, your degree, your money in the bank can't save you. Only Jesus can save us. Money is temporary. Degrees, titles are temporary. Houses and land, all of those things are temporary. But Jesus is eternal. So the only success, the only eternal life is in Jesus. So you need to be making your way to Jesus. You need to understand and recognize that where you at is not a good place without Jesus. You could have a nice home, nice family, nice children, children that are doing the right thing, going to school, going to college. But without Jesus in our lives, it means nothing. And that's what our families need to do. We need to raise up our children in the admonition of the Lord, to be God-fearing children. Because one day, they're going to find themselves out on a ship, out on a boat, separated from Jesus. And they're going to have to part the waters and start making them way to Jesus. So you, as a parent, train up your child in the right way so they can know how to part them waters. Because we all going to get there one day. Jesus said he lighted every man that cometh into the world. So sometimes he got to put some on us to open our eyes. That's what light means. Understanding, eye-opening situation. And sometimes he got to put us in prison to open our eyes. Sometimes he got to put us in a hospital to open our eyes. He lights everybody in some kind of way for us to open our eyes and see that we need him. He did it for me. He opened my eyes. We running around thinking you got it made until he knocked you down, like he knocked Paul down. Then he cried out. He was blind. He thought he could see, but he didn't realize he was blind all the time. So sometimes God got to blind us in order for us to see the true light, that we need to make our way to Jesus. We need to change what we're doing and make our way to Jesus. He's the only success in life. Eternal life is only through Jesus Christ. And we're going to stop here at that 8th verse where they was making their way to Jesus. And we're going to continue on next week of what they're pardoning and going through to get to Jesus. Those waters that they are going through, those are people and things in life that we got to part in order to get to the promised land, to your blessing, to Jesus. Thank you all for being with us this evening. We're going to get ready to get out of here. Y'all know I want to watch that basketball game. I don't keep y'all long anyway. So thank you all for being here. Remember to trust the process no matter what you're going through, no matter what life throws at you. Trust the process and make your way to Jesus. Keep swimming toward Jesus. Thank you, Cousin Shirley, for being with us this evening. God bless you too. Thank you to my beautiful wife, our First Lady, for being with us this evening. Thank you to my cousin Sharon, who was with us this afternoon and back with us this evening. You can't get enough of the Word of God. That's right. Can't get enough. Thank you for being with us, Sharon. You have a blessed evening. And Sister Deborah Hutchison, God bless you. My sister, thank you for being with us this evening. God bless you and your family. We continue to lift you all up in prayer. God bless you, Marty. Thank you, Marty, for being with us this evening. You have a blessed evening. Bishop Granberry, God bless you, my brother. Thank you for being with us this evening. If I miss anybody, charge it to my eyes and not my heart. God bless you all. Thank you, thank you. Remember, trust the process and keep God first. Thank you all.